Hi, my name is Beth Azor, and I own shopping centers in South Florida. And this is my podcast, I Own a Shopping Center, Now What? So last week I spoke to an investor who is in due diligence to buy a strip shopping center. This is new to them. They are in another industry, and actually they are buying the strip center to put their business in it, in one of the vacancies. I love that. I asked him if he was doing an SBA loan, and he said no, because his space won't be the size it needs to be to qualify for an SBA loan. But he did have a couple of specific questions. And one was, there is a tenant of 5,000 square feet in the plaza, and he's concerned about their future. After hearing who the tenant was, I shared with him, I'm also concerned about their future. They're a legacy tenant. They've been around for decades, and they have not kept up with the times. Amazon certainly has affected that industry. And I asked him to check the lease and the options to see how long they have left on their terms. And it turned out that he had probably 4 more years or 3 more years left with the initial term, the existing term, and then one 5-year option. So that means 8 years. And I pretty confidently told this investor that I did not think this tenant would be around for 8 years. Now, I think that this investor was thinking that that was a bad thing. And in my opinion, this is not a bad thing, because this tenant of question is paying a very low rent because it's a national retailer. And they're paying lower rent compared to some of the other spaces in the property and what this investor thinks he can get going forward. There will be no vacancies in this plaza once this investor puts his own business in the plaza. So this opportunity of this tenant vacating is a good thing, in my opinion, especially for the fact that he can plan ahead, right? I said, well, obviously you've run the numbers, and the numbers work with this tenant at this current lower rent. And he said, yes. I said, great. So now you have a few years possibly of opportunity to be really understanding your market, understanding the industry that this tenant is, start listening to read their annual reports, listen to their analyst calls, really understand what's going on. Maybe they'll downsize, maybe they'll vacate. Have an architect, the space is 5,000 square feet. I said, understand your market and see if there is a lack of 1,200 square foot spaces in your market. Maybe have an architect do a site plan showing that space split from 5,000 into 3 or 4 1,200 square foot spaces, 1,500 square foot spaces. Whether he is going to be leasing it, I don't think so, or a third-party leasing agent. Have them go out into the market and find out what is the going rate for 1,500 square feet. And so in a couple years, and then find out what the construction would be to possibly split it. I like that idea a lot better than maybe backfilling for 5,000 square feet, because you will continue to get a lower rent. Obviously larger spaces get lower rent than smaller spaces. And there are a lot less options to choose from for prospects for 5,000 square feet, right? We've talked about this before. You can do an auto supply, you can do dollar store, gymnastics studio, beauty supply, but there's not a lot of options. So versus if you had 3 or 4 1,500 square foot spaces or 1,200 square foot spaces, a million different options. So I think I helped assuage any of his concerns in moving forward with the deal with this issue. And I just thought it would be a great share for all of you. Knowledge is power. So knowledge of the market, knowledge of the tenant, doing your research, finding out what is needed in your market, planning ahead, getting your construction costs, knowing what the rents are, knowing what the demand is that's your job when you own shopping centers. So I hope this helped. I hope you guys liked the story. And if you like these tips, please subscribe to the podcast, share it. If you're on social media, share it. And I'll talk to you next week.